Prepare to have knowledge bestowed upon you. Here comes the #1 podcast for Dynasty Fantasy Football, half PPR 10 and 12 man leagues. The Fantasy Podfathers.
Yeah! 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 Woo!
Van Gundy.
Yeah! Woo!
There we go. What the hell? All right. Hello and welcome to Fantasy Podfathers, the fantasy podcast dedicated to Dynasty Fantasy Football 10 and 12 man leagues with a half PPR as our guiding format, and as always, no kickers. So the season's wrapped up. We finally got a little bit of perspective on it. So I wanted to look back at the season, and I had a question for you. What is the goal in fantasy football? So for football, fantasy in general, dynasty in particular, the goal is to win. I mean, that's what we're here for, right?
I thought you were always just trading for next year.
That's the goal.
That is the goal.
But what's the point of fantasy football? The point is to have some fun.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's fun.
Right. If you're going to be a whiny little bitch, I don't know how that's any fun for you, and definitely not for the people playing with you. And as I said, that kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, the goal is to win, but the point is to have fun. And we like to have fun here.
You have to remember that because we've talked about it as we've played fantasy football longer and longer. It takes almost some maturity of taking some lumps. Those first few lumps are just the hardest. And then you've got to realize a lot of it's out of your control. We play the game to put yourself in the driver's seat to give you a good chance of winning. But, man, nothing is guaranteed. You can have the best lineup and someone rolls up on your quarterback in the first quarter. And you just got to take it and still have fun with it. Be like, well, I'll get him next time.
Yeah, I mean, fantasy is mostly dumb luck. Dynasty really mitigates that. Mm-hmm. That's going to give you the most percentage of control in the outcome. After all, you get to keep your entire roster. Theoretically, you've done your homework. You should be deep enough to sustain some of those blows. But, yeah, I mean, seriously, when it comes down to it, it's luck of the draw, it's matchup, it's injury.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun, but don't take it so seriously.
Don't take it so seriously.
Suck the enjoyment out of it. What do you do that for? Stop doing that. Well, we like to have fun here. I mean, the Red Zone isn't the only one that can use that phrase. They don't have it copyrighted.
No, other places have fun.
Yeah, we like to have fun here too. And in the name of fun, you know what one of my favorite things is? The NFL nickname. I
was going to guess totally wrong, but it is.
Probably a good thing I jumped in there and cut you off, because it could have gone sideways there. How much does things like that, like having fun, how much does that affect your moves in a dynasty? I mean, I know there's always the homer pick where you get a guy that you're rooting for. But sometimes I've made a trade just for a guy that's fun to watch or that has a fun nickname, because I just want to have fun with it. And even if it's not necessarily a smart trade, sometimes I just want in on that.
I think for me, the thing that makes it the most fun for me is drafting a guy who turns out to just be a year one just stud. Like, that immediate confirmation that you were correct on what you picked. That for me is like one of the most rewarding things playing in a dynasty, to be like, I got a first round pick, I'm gonna take this guy. Or for like myself, like first thing that comes to mind is I got Josh Allen in the third round of a fantasy football draft, and then all of a sudden 2 years later he's phenomenal, and that is just so much fun to always have that story, right? For the next
that you got decade. Him for nothing.
I got Josh Allen. He was a fourth quarterback off the board. Like, he's been my starter for the last 10 years. We did some recaps of championship games in the past a few podcasts ago, and looking down your roster and realizing that, man, you had Matt Ryan and Ben Roethlisberger still on your roster from like 10 or 11 years ago, and that's just fun stuff there to in a dynasty, to actually build a dynasty.
Still have guys from your initial draft over a decade later. That's just that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And another, I guess the prime example for me is a guy who I've talked about on the show, but a dude I just like having on my team is Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, you do.
It's fun. I don't think he's ever going to be my starter. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he'll even make my roster. But for the couple months that I have him and his gorgeous mustache housed on my roster, I'm having fun. And for me, that factors in to some of this. It doesn't all have to be analytics and the best move. Sometimes you want a guy with a fucking funny haircut.
Right. It's that guy you can root for. I mean, for me, like the ultimate guy for that is like, well, two of them pop right into my head when you say that. Marshawn Lynch and Gronkowski.
Yeah. Right. He's fun to own.
Right. Those are just guys that you're just like, oh man, you see them out on the field, and if you don't own them, you just hate them. But if they're on your team, oh, that's so fun to watch Gronkowski just smash a game. I've never owned the guy. I hate him to death. But I imagine if I did own him, I would be like, I love hating this guy so much.
Yeah, I got a 25% own share on him, picked him up in the Nasty. The Nasty, a 10-man half PPR dynasty featuring practice squad. Founded by Ron and Jonah in 2011, as you well know. Mm-hmm. Only time I've ever owned him. It is exactly like you say. I haven't been able to stand the guy for years, but when when Gronk smash on my behalf, I'm good with it.
You're like, oh, that's so great. Give me more commercials about the insurance that you can't have.
Yeah.
I love it.
You fucking meathead, you're gorgeous. I love you.
I know. Well, kind of happened there is we kind of maybe trickle a little bit into our segment where we talk about having fun. Both of those guys have a pretty solid nickname, and I do love a good nickname. There's nothing better than just Gronk, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a verb.
It is. I actually had a sounder made years ago that was "You've been gronked."
Right.
It's I got gronked a couple of times. I didn't care for it.
Yeah, no, who wants to get gronked?
That's a couple clicks above getting flaccoed.
Yeah, no one wants to get flaccoed.
Nobody does.
You've been flaccoed.
If you like woke up in the morning and rolled over and like, oh, what happened last night? And someone's like, oh, you got gronked. You'd be like, well,
it was a fun night.
Must have been a good time. If someone's like, you got flaccoed, you'd be like, oh, man.
Shit. I'm going to have to write a letter.
Oh, that's
going to be a whole thing.
I know. I hope they don't call me tomorrow.
I better go make all my social media shit private right now.
Where'd I park my car? Yeah. And then Marshawn Lindsay, beast mode.
Yeah, classic.
I mean, man. And just a perfect fit for him. You got any other nicknames that just pop into your head as we're thinking of a few here?
Oh, well, the classic for me is a guy who checks both of those boxes as far as kick-ass nicknames, and a guy I loved owning, Maurice Jones-Drew. Mm-hmm. Of course, MJD, Mojo, and my personal favorite, Pocket Hercules.
Oh, that's a great one.
That is a great nickname.
Yeah.
So fitting. His little bowling ball out there. He was fucking amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. We've actually brought up this nickname too. I'll throw one back right at you on that same spectrum. Mr. Doug Martin was one of my favorite. The
next
muscle
on my
hamster.
list.
I love the muscle hamster. What a great name.
That is great.
Oh man. You picture it too, right? Just little
exactly
guy, little hamster all jacked up on roids. God,
that's it. Guy. Next on my list, I had it above Pocket Hercules because that's where I think it ranks. But right below Pocket Hercules, I have the Honey Badger.
Yeah, also a great one.
Yeah, I mean, classic. The Honey Badger it's just one of those that hits home like a warm Sunday morning and a buttery biscuit.
I actually thought of one where we were going here when you were throwing out Honey Badger. It's like, who was another great nickname, and I just remembered Revis Island.
Ah, good call.
And that was true, and what a great nickname. And I thought, there's been some shutdown corners, but Revis Island was a thing. And like, I love it when the nickname is so strong that the announcers start to talk about it like it's the way they talked about that. I was like, oh, well, you're not going to pass over to Revis Island. And I can just picture like someone like a John Madden, like sketching an island around that side of the field and being like, that's Revis Island. You can't go over there.
Oh, yeah, over here's the bush, and then this is him looking like a hot dog when he runs around.
Right. He's got a tree, and you know what you can't do around a tree? You can't throw a ball through a tree.
Saying the guy wants to eat him because he looks like a hot dog. That's why he's trying to run away. They're on an island. It's Revis Island.
What else you got in your arsenal?
One of my favorites, Packers tight end from the late 80s, early 90s, Ed West, the Toolbox.
Yeah, that's a good
quality.
One.
That's a good nickname.
Yep.
That's one where, like, I hope somebody in this current era earns that nickname and it comes back. But that just tells you how versatile Ed West was, that no one else has even been able to swipe that nickname in 25, 30 years.
No. I'll give you a nickname that we all know. I don't think it's a great nick. Like the guy wears it like a badge of honor. I think it's a horrible nickname. But how about Booger? Booger McFarland.
Yeah, like in the worst nickname Hall of Fame.
Right. Like everyone knows when I say Booger who that is, and I don't know if I want a gross bodily fluid to be what people know me by.
Yeah, man, because the first thing I think of is Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, right.
Booger hammering down a beer. That's it wasn't endearing, man. It was fitting. I don't think you want that.
Yep. You've got a Steelers running back who's got one of the best nicknames of all time. It's got to be Mr. Bettis.
Oh, you going with the bus?
I mean, the bus.
Solid.
I mean, you got your bus. I mean, how fitting is that nickname? A yellow and black giant vehicle.
That's true. He did look like a bus coming out of there.
God, yes, he did.
My favorite recent Pittsburgh nickname, though, is the play on the great Megatron nickname, of course, Mapletron, the Canadian version.
I do love that one. That's really great.
That is one that fills me with a warm sense of well-being.
Well, and since you're sharing, some Steelers nicknames, I'd like to share a Broncos nickname. Broncos have been kind of not very great the last 4 or 5 years, so a lot of people might not know this, but if you're a Broncos fan, there's actually a really great nickname for Drew Locke. As Broncos fans, we like to call him a piece of shit. So it's got a nice ring to it. It's something to remember. But yeah, that's a nickname that I really enjoy. But again, that's only in certain Broncos circles that you. Oh,
I know what you mean. We got a backup quarterback who's looking to take over, Mason Rudolph, and around my parts, we call him that fucking guy.
Yeah.
As in, oh, great! Here comes that fucking guy. Now it's going to look like 1992 all over again.
Right. So I feel like if you're a true NFL fan, if you're a fan of your team, you've got one of those nicknames in your head out there.
Right. You've all got one.
You've seen it. You're like, oh, don't throw the ball to him, Captain Poopy Hands.
Yeah, Dwight Stonehands was one of my favorite Steelers receivers for just that reason. But those are some of my favorites, is the ones that aren't actual famous nicknames, the regional ones.
Yeah.
Like I said, after Roethlisberger got in his accident and got his face filled with metal, I took to calling him Bionic Ben. That never stuck.
Fantastic.
Friend of the show, Dog Bowl, wrote in with one of his. Frank Winters, offensive lineman for the Packers, Old Bag of Donuts, or Frankie Bag of Donuts.
I love that.
And one that will be near and dear to your heart as well as mine. I felt real good when I remembered Hank Poteet.
Oh man!
See, you felt it right down there in the bowels, didn't you?
I like it.
I love pot eat.
Little pot eat.
Yeah, I'd see see him on a screen on Madden, and you couldn't not say it in your head every time. Like, I'd pick him up. I'm going to take Potty.
Yeah. I always like to, when I played Madden 2, I always had to own Ben Gay.
Yeah, there's dudes I will draft for the names that are computer generated.
Not even a nickname. I mean, at all.
Yeah.
It's just like,
There's some great ones.
Ben Gay actually has a son. Goes by the name Icy Hot.
It's his TikTok name.
It's his TikTok name.
Yeah, he's that new generation.
I feel bad about saying that about Drew Locke.
No, you don't.
No, I don't. No, he's I told you before. I was like, I tried to be all in on that guy, but then
I know how you feel.
We scored a touchdown and he did Buzz Lightyear's laser beam as his touchdown celebration. And I just, it ruined it all. I was
when
like,
you told me that, I was like, no, I get it now.
Yeah. Like that's.
I mean, hey, it's not as bad as Rudolph. His celebration is being smashed in the skull with an opposing team's helmet.
It's true.
It's not a good celebration.
It's not good. Oh.
But the dent in his skull makes him more aerodynamic.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
I just keep saying this because I want him to fucking prove me wrong on all of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, no one knows how to lead the pack like Rudolph, I guess. Let's switch gears just abruptly. Gam's gonna abruptly just switch gears on you.
Dude, just stomp on the fucking brakes.
Just stomp on the brakes. We're moving on from the nicknames.
All right, throw the fucking e-brake. Let's whip a 180. I spilled my fucking drink everywhere. I need to get a new one.
I got to get a new one.
That's probably a good idea because we're probably just about getting ready to get on the plane, huh?
We're going to get on the plane. We can bring all of our friends, all the nicknames with us. They can hop along for a ride because we're going to go around the world and we're going to look at team by team and say,
what did we learn?
I'll call it around the world going,
Ladies and gentlemen, buckle your seatbelts. We're about to go around the world.
What the fuck just happened?
Like let's go to this week's. The Bengals are in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and it was just 3 short months ago they were getting their brains beat in by Jets led by White.
Mm-hmm.
How soon everyone forgets that. It was the third stringer that took the Bengals out. It's
true.
The NFL, man. Am I right?
Oh, so right. Well, I'm going to get myself some travel peanuts and a way too expensive airplane cocktail.
I'm ready when you are.
Woo!
Yeah, so fucking A, man.
We're going to take this plane ride across the country, hopping from pick to pick as far as the draft order. I feel like that'll be a really great way to talk about teams who, disappointed and teams who surprised by seeing where they pick in the draft. And so let's start with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
What did we learn?
Well, we learned that Urban Meyers
is everything we thought he was.
Yep. I have a nickname I'd like to throw out there. I want to call him Urban Fires.
Urban Oscar fired.
I don't know what we did learn because I think the coaching was so horrible down there that I can't tell you if Trevor Lawrence, we both discussed we didn't love him, but as much as I don't love the guy, I'm still willing to give him a shot with a new coach.
Right, under not Urban Meyer.
Right.
I mean, it's just the tales of the ineptitude there were just mind-boggling. Apparently they're his whole plan was to take Kadarius Toney in the draft. And when Toney was gone, he just drafted Etienne at running back with the intention of flipping him to wide receiver. Yeah. So just shit like that. And it just went downhill from there.
I guess what I'm saying is I really feel like I learned nothing about the Jacksonville Jaguars last year.
Right. It just completely it was a push.
Mm-hmm. Here's the next team we go to. Finished strong and had some fantasy relevant players this year, which is not normal. Detroit Lions. Amon Saint. Oh my God! How long has it been since I've watched football?
Yeah,
St. Brown.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. Oh my God, I feel so stupid.
It's both Egyptian gods.
I know, clearly.
That's a guy. I almost drafted him just for that name, but even the fun factor couldn't talk me into drafting Detroit wide receiver, and he showed me.
Yeah, I own him in a dynasty, and just took him because of where he went in the draft.
Yeah,
the Lions took him so high that I was like, well, they'll at least try to use him, and then he turned out to be he's a PPR stud. I mean.
He's getting Welker? 8+ receptions a week with Goff,
right,
and Boyle.
So, going into next season, Goff, I think, kind of won the starting job the way he played down the stretch. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be a guy who, I think he had 2 good games with Tim Boyle.
Yeah,
right?
He was serviceable.
Yeah, so there's a fantasy guy, and if DeAndre Swift can stay healthy, I'm surprised to say it. Yeah, I don't mind me some Detroit Lions for fantasy football next year. I guess the needle pointing up a little bit on the Lions for me.
Fucking A, man.
Here's a team that makes me want to puke in my mouth. We thought that the Houston Texans would be terrible, and guess what? They were. Give me a guy like Davis Mills is intriguing from a dynasty standpoint. But now they have a new coach, so who knows if he'll even be the guy next year. Brandon Cooks, the chances of him playing for the Texans 2 years in a row is pretty small compared to what he usually does. Right?
Right.
I mean,
he's already in the bonus.
Right. He doesn't last with the team very long. They'll rebuild. The running backs there was disgusting. I think I saw some piece of news that they signed Rex Burkhead to a 1-year extension, which is gross.
Yeah, the only way I can see being excited is if Watson gets dealt in a big package and they flip it for something good.
Yep. How about the Jets? I'm gonna say what we learned about the Jets is that their draft pieces of Elijah Moore and Michael Carter are going to have some fantasy relevance. I feel like Zach Wilson, they're going to have the same staff next year. There's no changes going on there, so
he's got to make a big second-year leap. Has to.
Yeah. When Joe Flacco outplays you in a game and Mike White outplays you in a game.
Yeah, and you're basically at times looking like the third best quarterback out of that group.
God. He just seems destined to be traded to an NFC team with a second-round pick in about 4 years.
Yeah, probably closer to 2.
Yeah.
After they flush the whole regime out and start all over again.
The Giants, New York Giants, I learned that even with 7 good wide receivers, you still can be horrible offensively.
I learned that maybe you should take some players that aren't injury risks.
Yeah, right.
It's okay to gamble on a guy with a history, but not all of them.
And Saquon Barkley is already a bust. I don't care what he does from here on forward. That production last year and the injuries, it's just
You said he got outplayed by some of the guys filling in for him as well.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, in the future we'll be talking about the new coaches and new places and what that means for the players who are there. And we'll have a lot to say about the Giants with their new coach. The pick six in the NFL draft will be the Carolina Panthers. We learned that Sam Darnold can ruin any football team.
He can be bad anywhere.
We learned that the question of Christian McCaffrey's body size holding up in the NFL was a legit question. I feel like what we learned from the Panthers this year is that Sam Darnold is not an NFL caliber quarterback.
Is that Jimmy Garoppolo's going to look real good in them colors?
Yeah, he'll look real good. I don't know if he'll be good.
But he's going to look good, damn it.
He's going to look real good. The next team will be the Chicago Bears.
What did we learn there?
We learned that Justin Fields progressed. He can be a possible fantasy relevant quarterback because of his legs.
And that Mooney is starting to. Yeah, I'd call him legit at this stage.
And Montgomery looks solid. They don't score enough points, but I like the pieces. I think with the right coach, the right offensive coordinator, I think you'd feel good starting Montgomery, you'd feel good starting Mooney, you'd feel good starting Justin Fields. If they're anything like this year, there's just not going to be the touchdown volume to feel good about starting those guys. How about Atlanta?
Oh, what didn't we learn there? I feel like I learned so much in Atlanta.
Man,
I learned Mike Davis was a bad signing, which I already knew. I learned you can use Cordero Patterson as a running back.
Yeah, and a wide receiver or whatever you want to. Yeah.
All these years when they were talking about maybe possibly doing it, it turns out you can.
Yeah, it's crazy. Atlanta just feels like a franchise that's slowly kind of just falling apart.
Yeah. As long as you've got Matt Ryan's numbers on the books, you're not going to be able to do much more than what you've got right now.
I can see one player on Atlanta's offense that I want to own, and outside of that, I'm out. Kyle Pitts.
Yeah,
that's it. So, that's a team that honestly disappointed. I thought Ridley could be solid. I thought Kyle Pitts might be, he was great, but he scored only one touchdown on the year. Mike Davis was terrible. So yeah, when you go into the season, you're like excited, and then we're talking about Cordero Patterson at the end of the year. Things did not go as planned.
That's what we learned in Atlanta. Things do not go as planned.
Almost always. Even Super Bowl halftimes. The next pick is the Denver Broncos. I can tell you what we learned with the Denver Broncos. You can have all the pieces you need in the NFL, and you're not going to win if you don't have a great quarterback. I saw from a fantasy football standpoint, for Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, and Jerry Jeudy to end the season with such horrible statistics. Just awful. Awful underperforming football team. I can't see any team out there that I could say you could turn around with one player and it's a quarterback. So what I learned from the Broncos this year is that thank you for firing everyone in the coaching staff because I've never seen a more poorly utilized passing game in the NFL than what the Denver Broncos were this last year. So I would tell you, if you're not a Denver Broncos fan, it's a real great time to buy low on Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant. These guys can't get any worse than what they were last year.
Yeah, I learned Fangs plays it close to the vest.
Yeah.
Boy, howdy.
He'd
win 6-3 every week if he could.
He is the most boring human being too. As a fan, I mean, the guy is immensely boring.
Do the deep dive into Fangio things.
Oh my gosh. A fun night for that guy is maybe putting some Parmesan on your spaghetti and meatballs and turning Garth Brooks up to 7.
He looks like Pledge Week on PBS.
He really does. I'm going to make a wood box to hold your envelope opener.
We're going to refinish this turn of the century desk.
Oh, this looks like mahogany, but it's not. Your eyes are fooling you.
Sand the dowel. Sand the dowel carefully. Teach you today how to make a dovetailed joint.
Okay, I gotta go on. Moving down the list, you go to the Seattle Seahawks.
Wow, what did we learn there?
I feel like we learned that Russell Wilson is always good for half a year. And that DK Metcalf is horribly underused. That's a team that wants to establish the run game until Rashad Penny came out at the end of the season. They had no idea how to establish a run game. Now you're a Metcalf owner.
Indeed.
Are you more excited next year if there's a quarterback besides Russell Wilson behind center?
Not really.
Yeah, I feel like that team right now, like today, still does not know what their offseason plan is.
I guess if they deal Wilson and bring in a huge haul, I think they're looking at overhauling the entire offense. Like you said, all their running backs are free agents. The whole damn room they've got to make a decision on. I think their wide receivers are pretty well under contract for a while. Their tight ends are useless. There's no point in them even having one. I think it's just a fucking show. I think Pete Carroll does it to mock me. Mm-hmm. I think the only way to go there is trade Russell Wilson and overhaul the whole damn thing.
What's interesting about that is if they knew they were going to do that, then they should also move on from Pete Carroll. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm in limbo with these guys. Like,
right, because what you're saying is that he's the guy to blow it up and do your rebuild. Mm-hmm. And I guess I don't disagree with that. He kind of was there for the first build. Yeah. I mean, he's like 76 or something. He's getting up there. It's the whole place is in flux.
Yep. Bonus leakage. That doesn't sound. No, I like that. Bonus leakage. Washington football team, or as we will probably find out tomorrow.
Ooh.
The Washington Commanders. How do you feel about that?
I was honestly kind of partial to the football team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate Commanders.
It's less racist.
Yeah.
They accomplished that. They were like,
That's a pretty low fucking bar, though.
What about the Washington Filibusters?
Whew. Oh.
You like that?
That's not bad.
I kind of like the Filibusters.
That's pretty good. The Washington Gridlock.
Ooh, I like that.
That's not bad.
No.
You're playing into the grid things, kind of works on 2 levels.
Yeah.
So what did we learn in Washington?
They need to go all in on a quarterback next year.
That seems to be the recurring theme.
Yeah, they need a quarterback big time.
At just the time when all the savvy veterans are hanging it up, everybody's going all in on quarterback. And it's a good time to be on that market.
Yeah, and it's also not a very strong quarterback draft from what I've seen. There's no top 5 quarterback on the board this year.
No, that was what the saving grace was for Jacksonville, is that there's no clear-cut got-to-take quarterback that puts them in an awkward position. Right. They're going to get to take the guy that they need to take.
Next team is the Minnesota Vikings. Their season was a very Viking-esque season. They had talent. Offensively, fantasy football-wise, you felt good about starting Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins was a great number 2 quarterback to have on your roster. He's a great backup guy. You can spot start him as needed. Delvin Cook, when healthy, looks great. Adam Thielen, when he was healthy, was fine. I guess this is the first team I've seen where I'm like, all the pieces on this team are fine, and I do strongly believe that the reason why they didn't win more games was the coaching.
Right. Like, this is the first time when we're sitting here saying they're not a quarterback away. They're a coach away.
Yep. Interesting little, I'm going to throw this out there so it's on record. All this talk about Aaron Rodgers leaving and Denver going with Nathaniel Hackett. I think a wild card situation here is actually Kirk Cousins ends up in Denver. I'll say that. And I look at it this way. I think Kirk Cousins, the Vikings owe him a lot of money. They've got a new coach who's probably going to want to rebuild, and he'll have the excuse to get rid of Kirk Cousins and be forgiven for the giant salary thing because he wasn't the one who did it. And George Patton is the guy who drafted Kirk Cousins. So look for the Denver Broncos to make a move on Kirk Cousins, and I am saying that here so it can be recorded.
Well, that you heard from me there was stunned silence that entire time. That is okay. I'm going to keep an eye on that, because the other factor to that equation is the quote-unquote ridiculous amount that they paid Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. Now that market has changed over the course of his deal, that's not a huge number anymore. But interesting. I will keep an eye on that.
The next team is the Cleveland Browns.
I mean, I guess maybe what I learned is that maybe height is an issue for him.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to be throwing batted ball. I mean, TJ Watt got him how many times in that one game?
Right.
It seems like he's most successful when he rolls out.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a whole bunch of tall guys standing in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know. I learned nothing.
Yep. I would agree. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, we came out of the season feeling the same way about them. Who would, if I say, okay, go ahead, start any Brown you want, but it can't be a running back. Tell me who you're picking.
Landry?
Yeah. That gives you and you're hoping for 6 for 70.
Hoping he's not hurt that week.
Yeah. Right. It's just not a team that it's not a team I want to. It's kind of surprised the next team that they're picking this high in the draft, but the Baltimore Ravens at 8-9 this year. Lamar Jackson is going to be a fantasy stud. The running backs, I think what we learned at the Ravens, they just couldn't handle the amount of injuries to their backfield to keep up with it anymore.
Oh, that was ridiculous amount of injuries, though.
Yeah.
No team should have to suffer that at one position. That's just dreadful.
I mean, they will have – Lamar wasn't healthy in the season. You'll have Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, and Rashad Bateman.
Okay.
So I guess what we learned about the Ravens is they were never healthy enough all at the same time to really judge them, and that Mark Andrews is a super stud.
Yeah, that's what I learned.
The Dolphins. You give me your take on the Dolphins.
I don't know what I learned in Miami either. I didn't learn nothing about Tua. I guess I learned Waddle's pretty damn solid.
Yeah, that's what I'd say too. The only thing I took out of that is that Jalen Waddle's going to be a stud, and that I don't care who's their running back, that offensive line isn't going to open up any holes.
Right, and it's not for lack of trying. They keep shoveling draft picks at it, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, fantasy football purposes, Tua could end up being kind of the Baker Mayfield type, where he's just on the verge of being good enough that you get excited for him, and you finally be like, I got to start him, and the next week he gets you nothing. The next team we have on here is the Colts. God, Jonathan Taylor's so good, and Carson Wentz is their quarterback.
Despite that, Pittman finally seemed to break out.
Pittman was targeted quite a bit, had a great season. I don't know if Carson Wentz is the answer for that team. I don't know if they're going to go into next year without bringing in competition. Carson Wentz lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars to not make the playoffs.
Like I said, this quarterback market, who do you conceivably bring into any of these locations? Like you're talking about like Teddy Bridgewater. Like,
yeah, you're keeping Wentz. Yeah, so I guess what we learned from them is they're a great running team, and they might be mired in subpar quarterback play for a few more years. Next team is the Chargers. I like the Chargers. I love Herbert. I love Eckler. I like Mike Williams. I like Keenan Allen. I did like Donald Parham when he was alive.
Not cold.
I like that team. I guess what I learned from the Chargers is that they're just a young team, and fantasy football wise, I like all the pieces. Their challenge was just consistency, which is what you'd expect from a young quarterback like Herbert. But he looks great. I like the Chargers. Nothing wrong with them. 9-8's a fine record.
Yeah, arrows up.
Yep, 2 more wins. They're in the playoffs. So, actually, take that back. If you remember,
actually, yeah,
one less timeout called, and they're in the playoffs.
They're in the playoffs. Yeah,
they were a timeout away from the playoffs. Here's a team that is a hot, god-awful mess. The New Orleans Saints. Who do you want on your roster from the New Orleans Saints?
Kamara.
Yeah, that's
it.
That's it. And
that's a full-on rebuild, and you don't know which direction that's going.
Right.
Like that's where a Teddy Bridgewater reunion feels all right.
That's true. That's a great
That's
call.
fucking comfort food, man. Give me a big old basket of Teddy Bridgewater to just get me through, man. Just get me through.
Some hush puppies and Teddy Bridgewater.
Wearing them gloves? Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He could easily get them to 7-9 next year.
Right. Yeah.
Or I guess that would be 7-10.
Oh,
I forgot.
Oh, don't you math at me.
I did. I added them up to make 17.
I don't want to do no thinking. It's probably going to take me 3 or 4 years until it sinks in.
Yep, I agree. Feels weird. Now we get into the actual teams who made the playoffs. The Philadelphia Eagles.
What did we learn there?
My nervousness of the Eagles is that Jalen Hurts holds back some of the wide receivers because he's not a great passer, but he's a great fantasy football player. So be interesting to see what happens next year with Hurts if they get him in the pocket more, improve his passing skills. I like the team, and I like the fantasy football pieces on the team, like a Devonta Smith. But if Hurts just becomes this scrambling quarterback who's still not good at passing the ball, it could be an ugly year next year for the Eagles. So I guess for me, the Eagles it all lies on Jalen Hurts' arm on how good they are.
I'm steering clear of Philly. I'm going to call that fool's gold. I don't want no part of it. I had 25% ownership in Hurts earlier this year. I made a move when he had a few solid weeks. I feel good about getting out from under that. He's going to score you some points until he doesn't. So, pick him up, enjoy him for the next year or so when he's gravy. And then when he falls apart, you deal with it.
Yep. Well, you might know this team. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, what did we learn there? Oh, we learned that I'm going to have to stock up on the whiskey to get through a season with Mason Rudolph. She's going to drive me to the drink.
I hate to say it, and no offense, but I don't want one piece of the Pittsburgh Steelers right now if they don't get a quarterback that's not on that roster and that's not a rookie.
I honestly am hoping for a rookie. Oh, somebody actually posted the Vegas line on who was going to be starting week 1 in Pittsburgh. And I believe it was Jimmy Garoppolo was the leader.
Oh, good Lord.
Lingering right down there in the top 4 was Teddy Bridgewater and Mason Rudolph. So, I mean, that, and then I think 5 was Kenny Pickett. That seems to be the 4 most likely options at quarterback next year.
Gosh,
I think we're about to learn how really fucking great Ben Roethlisberger was for the last almost 2 decades.
Yeah. Next thing you guys, the Patriots. Mac Jones, a great quarterback for a rookie, but he's not a great quarterback for fantasy football.
Right.
And that's like that, I think, defines every piece on that team.
To me, New England screams coaching. They're always so well prepared. Guys are in the right spots. They know what they're doing. They also like to take advantage of matchups, which leads to exactly what you just said. You can have a guy just be an absolute stud one week and be game planned completely out the next week. If they've got a matchup they like, they're going to go at it.
What about the Raiders? They're next on the list. I guess the thing I take from the Raiders, Josh Jacobs had his ups and downs. He's a solid player. Derek Carr, same. Darren Waller was hurt. If he's healthy, I like him. He's getting a little bit up there in age. But the thing that's so frustrating with me with the Raiders is when are they going to get a star wide receiver to pan out?
Right. Gruden is a racist, sexist, caveman moron. But damn, he put him in good cap position and loaded him up with draft picks. Completely got the rebuild underway faster than I would have expected. Came out completely right, dealing Mac. What good does one defensive player do you on a dumpster fire team? They're in a good position. And strangely, the son of Al Davis seems to be making prudent decisions. McDaniel was a guy I never liked, but the more I'm hearing about him from former players, he is Belichick light. He's prepared as hell and knows what's coming and is, I like it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that is a franchise that's headed up. Arizona Cardinals. For me personally, I learned that my thoughts on Kyler Murray not liking him were maybe justified. And James Conner blew my mind.
Yeah, I actually going to say both of those things. And that Ertz had some left in the tank, just like I thought he did.
I agree. Ertz was a great move for them as well. They're a team. DeAndre Hopkins will come back healthy next year. Murray will be better for it. But man, what a drop off from what they looked like to start the year.
Agreed.
We have Dallas Cowboys. I don't know what happened. They were an offensive juggernaut, and then it's like they Mike McCarthy themselves into preparing themselves to suck come into the playoffs.
Yeah, this is going to be the second spot we come into where I think we say coaching is what needs to be upgraded there. They've clearly got offensive weapons. I think they could do with an upgrade there.
We got the Bills. Josh Allen's stud. Diggs is a stud. Gabriel Davis looks like he's up and coming.
90% of that team coming right back.
Yeah, they're going to be good. You're going to get a lot of offensive points. You're going to feel good starting a lot of players on that team. Be interesting to see if Devin Singletary did enough to straight out win the starting gig going into next year. But I want Dawson Knox. I want Stephon Diggs. I want Josh Allen. I want Devin Singletary. I want Gabriel Davis. I want all these guys on my rosters. It's a team that's looking great for fantasy football. Tennessee Titans. Obviously, Derrick Henry's the man. He's from what I look at, he's probably got 2-3 good years ahead of him. Julio Jones is clearly falling off. That was not what we thought we'd get out of him. And A.J. Brown, healthy, is a stud. Tannehill is just a serviceable quarterback.
And they're a team I can't tell if they just don't use the tight end or if theirs was just garbage, I guess, is what I'm not sure.
Next team we have is Tampa Bay. What we've learned about Tampa Bay doesn't matter, right? What we learned, it became official today. Tom Brady has retired, so everything we learned about Tampa Bay last year means nothing.
Right. All of the guys that I thought were a lock to re-sign, scratch that.
Right.
Anybody that it's going to take a discount to come there, that's over now.
Right. I feel like Gronk is going to retire. I feel like Chris Godwin's not going to re-sign there. I feel like Leonard Fournette's not going to re-sign there. I feel like this is a team that if Brady was there, I'd be all in on those three players I just listed off. And they're either not going to be on the team, or if they are on the team, their value is cut in half. The Green Bay Packers, we've got, I think what I learned from the Packers this year is that A.J. Dillon is greater than Aaron Jones. Devontae Adams is the only wide receiver that you can really play every week without doing a dart throw. And Aaron Rodgers is a phenomenal quarterback. I'm not even going to go into the speculation that those guys won't be back next year. I'm just going to say the Packers this year will, if Rodgers and Adams are there next year, they'll look exactly like they did this year.
Yeah.
The next team will be the San Francisco 49ers. We learned that Jimmy Garoppolo was better than expected. We learned that Deebo Samuel is an absolute stud. We learned that Elijah Mitchell is an absolute stud. We learned that Trey Sermon and Trey Lance were non-factors. And Trey Lance should be a factor next year, but Trey Sermon probably won't be a factor for a while.
Agreed.
We got the Chiefs next. I think the Chiefs next year are exactly the same team.
Barring the addition of a free agent here or there, I think we're looking at the same thing.
And then I guess with this, the next two spots, we have to pick our Super Bowl team.
Oh.
Okay, so who do you have at pick 31?
Pick 31, I would have the Cincinnati Bengals.
We're taking the Cincinnati Bengals. And what do we learn about the Cincinnati Bengals this year?
Wow, that apparently you can get by without a great offensive line. Burrow and Chase definitely had the ability to do what they're doing. I didn't think they'd have the time to do it. So I've been just impressed with them across the board.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon. It's a lot to like and a lot of dynasty things to like on that team right now. I mean, the needle's only up because, like you said, they're in the Super Bowl and their offensive line is garbage. They don't need to spend any draft capital on offensive weapons. It's all there. I mean, they bring in one free agent lineman, draft another, and maybe grab a second and third round defensive player. They're going to be perennial offensive juggernauts.
Yeah, they're in a good spot, contract wise, age wise. Yeah, they remind me of the San Francisco 49ers about 6-7 years ago when you started to see them putting everything in place.
Yeah, it's a good assessment. And then lastly, we've got the Rams. Full disclaimer, my daughter's a Bengals fan, so I'm cheering for the Bengals. But Matt Stafford or Joe Burrow, the Bengals, I don't hate any scenario on who wins the Super Bowl.
Agreed.
Cooper Kupp, what a freaking stud. Cam Akers is playing in a Super Bowl after tearing his Achilles. That's crazy.
That's nuts.
I don't hate Odell Beckham Jr. for some reason on the Rams. The Rams are going to be positioned to be a good team next year. To me, both these teams I would not be shocked if next year this could be a repeat thing. It won't happen, but the Rams and the Bengals are both teams that I think are positioned for the next 5 years to have a really good shot at winning games. Now, maybe not quite as long because Matt Stafford is.
But he's got a closing window, but he's still got 3 to 5 left on him. Probably closer to 3 quality years. Yeah. But they don't have any first round picks for the next 2 or 3 years, so they won't be getting anybody up there. But theoretically, they shouldn't need to be doing too much reloading for the next couple of seasons.
Yep. So, as we're touching down with the plane, pulling into L.A. to get ready for our Super Bowl, I guess the overriding theme I see as we're talking this out, and it is the story of the NFL, it's quarterback.
Yeah, that's what it all comes down to.
It all comes down, you can't have a great running game without a good passing game. You can't have a good receivers or tight ends without a good passing game. The teams that are, again, you always look and let's go down the list. There's like one exception to the rule, but we've got Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Jimmy Garoppolo, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Josh Allen, Ryan Tannehill, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, Mac Jones, Ben Roethlisberger, and Jalen Hurts. Those are your playoff quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You look at the other teams that are going down this list. I'm going to do this. You've got Taysom Hill, Justin Herbert, Carson Wentz, Tua Tagovailoa, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, Zach Wilson, Tyler Hinkie, Teddy Bridgewater, Matt Ryan, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Davis Mills, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence. It's pretty obvious. The further you are down the draft board, with a few crazy exceptions because of an injured season, the worse your quarterback play was.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's like sometimes we overthink it all, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a guy who can chuck the ball down the field without the other team grabbing it from him, you will be bad.
Yeah, sadly, I think that's true.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I just touched a nerve, didn't I?
Oh, I know that year Ben was out and we had Duck Hodges and Rudolph. It felt like it was 1993 Neil O'Donnell anemic offense, screwy looking throws to guys in the wrong spot. It was just
get ready.
It was painful.
Get ready. I went from Peyton Manning to 6 years, and it's ending with Drew Locke and Teddy Bridgewater. I just can't take it anymore. It takes a lot of joy out of your soul.
Yeah, it was a good ride. Now I guess at least we're already a year into the rebuild. So
it's true. It's true.
So we're further along than I would have hoped.
Right. Well, we will, that's kind of the end of last year of the 2021 football season. All of our podcasts from here on out will be getting into next year. Free agency, combine,
coaching carousel,
salary cap, how to build a dynasty. So let's kind of put a bookmark and a stamp on the year that was 2021. And move ahead to the 2022 NFL season, and we'll be back with a brand new year of content.
Okay, double stamp it.
Bam.
Touch blue, make it true.
Stamped.
Can't triple stamp it, double stamp.
Ken 2, Lloyd. Ken 2.
You can't triple stamp it, double stamp.